What's up guys, this is the Honest Outlaw here, and today I want to go over a pretty important video. There won't be a lot of shooting in this video, just mostly me talking. But I wanted to talk about some range safety, and I wanted to talk about a couple of instances when you are much more likely to ruin your life, ruin your weekend at the very least, with an accidental discharge than some other situations, because I know that doesn't really get talked about that much. So the first thing I want to mention before we get into that is have a strong grasp of the firearm safety rules, because no matter what kind of cool stuff you see on YouTube from Chris Costa or Travis Haley or somebody like that, they all still apply those rules. They can just do it quicker than most people. And making sure and remembering the safety rules is extremely important. The first one I want to talk about is treating all guns like they're loaded. That is a bit overblown sometimes. Sometimes super safety Nazis will every time, no matter what, but you have to treat certain guns like they're unloaded if you're going to clean them or disassemble them or something like that. But if you're on the range and there's ammo anywhere near it, always make sure you treat a gun like it's loaded, because it really could kill you or one of your loved ones or something like that. Never let the muzzle of your firearm cover anything you are not willing to destroy. That seems pretty self-explanatory, but that's a really important one we're going to talk about here in a second. The next one is keeping your finger off the trigger until you are ready to fire. That is one that I see broken all the time, and that is going to add into what I'm going to talk about in a second as well. So make sure that you're not putting your finger on the trigger till the draw stroke is thoroughly out and you are ready to fire. And lastly, the one that I see broken by most of my friends is make sure of your target and what's beyond it. And what I mean by that is, take a hunting situation, for example. You know, younger people, even newer hunters, they really get tunnel vision on that deer, and they're going to shoot, but they don't realize there's a house behind it or a barn behind it or one of their buddies behind it, or you're shooting at a pheasant that flies up out of a ditch, but you don't realize your buddies run on the other side of the ditch. So that's an important one as well. But what we're going to get into now are the two most likely circumstances you are to accidentally shoot yourself. When are you most likely to actually have a negligent discharge, and when are you most likely to have that negligent discharge actually hit you? So I want to talk about the first one, and I think it's the most important one as far as safety goes, and that is going to be the draw stroke. So the draw stroke's really important because you can look up lots of YouTube videos where people shoot themselves just based on the draw. And a lot of that is due to poor technique, and some of it's due to just going too fast before their skill level keeps up with what they're trying to do. So I got an empty gun here. We're gonna check it to make sure. We're still gonna treat it like it's loaded. Now, appendix carry is very controversial, and I understand why. I really do. There's lots of pros to it. It's faster, it's easier to grab under duress, like if you're grappling, things like that, and it looks cooler on YouTube, but it also puts you in a position where you're possibly making a really, really poor choice with your junk, and even worse than that, your femoral artery. So if you're going to shoot yourself based off like a 3 o'clock draw, or even a rig like this, which I'm going to show you here in a second, you're less likely to commit a fatal injury. You're still going to get shot, but if you accidentally have a negligent discharge towards your junk area and your femoral artery area, you probably aren't going to live long enough to learn from that mistake. So if you carry appendix, the draw, you should really work on it all the time with a snap cap in your gun or an empty gun, that kind of thing. So we're going to work on it a little bit today. It's not going to be about the draw, but it's going to be about being safe while you draw. So the first thing I see a lot of people do when they appendix draw is they bend down like this, and that points the gun more towards your junk. That's a big mistake. Like if you see a lot of real professionals do it, they lean back into it a little bit, and that clears your barrel from your junk. So when you're grabbing it like this, pull the gun out, finger off the trigger, finger comes on the trigger when you're ready to go. Now, believe it or not, most people don't have negligent discharges drawing the gun. They have a negligent discharge reholstering the gun. Now, reholstering the gun with appendix carry is super important, especially if you're carrying a Glock. Like, a lot of people like to carry double action pistols, which I agree with a lot for appendix carry, because it has that long double action pull in case you're reholstering and you get it caught on the lip of your holster here, or you get a piece of shirt or a piece of fabric or a piece of your belt or whatever it may be, and you see a lot of cool YouTubers, they'll come back in and they'll reholster super hard. So they'll come out fast, reholster super hard. To me, that's a recipe for disaster. I mean, if you don't like your dick, go ahead, by all means do that. But for me personally, I really think that reholstering should be much more deliberate and careful. Look at the holster, make sure everything's clear, make sure everything's good. Keep your finger way off the trigger. Reholster slowly. Slowly, so if you feel like you're going to catch anything, you can tell. All right, and the second way that most people shoot themselves, and I can't even believe I'm gonna say this, but it is cleaning their gun. And that is another breach of the rules we talked about earlier, as far as making sure you treat every gun like it's loaded until you've absolutely and positively confirmed it's loaded. And one little tip that I've seen as far as that goes, and I actually think I learned this from James Yeager's channel, and if you look at your gun and you look for a round, and if you end up seeing one, sometimes your brain registers, oh, I found what I'm looking for, no big deal. So look for an empty chamber. And if you have to, especially if you're gonna clean your gun, high risk circumstance, something like that, make sure you even stick your finger in there just to make sure. Especially if you have a slick cold barrel like I do, sometimes it makes it even harder to see brass. If you have a black barrel, the contrast makes it a little bit easier to see. But make sure that you're not one of those guys that look unbelievably stupid, either shooting yourself on the draw, shooting yourself reholstering, especially not in your junk or your femoral artery. And make sure you always check your gun before you clean it or disassemble it, especially on a striker fired gun where you have to pull the trigger, disassemble the gun. It would be a big mistake, and your wife would hate you if you put a hole through her favorite painting because you were cleaning your Glock in the living room. If you liked this video and you felt that it was informative, please leave a like and please subscribe to the channel. If you think that I missed some things, please leave them in the description below. This was kind of an off-the-cuff video. We didn't really prepare for this. I just had these guns out here for testing, so I kind of did this right off the top of my head. So if I forgot some important stuff, please listen in the comment section below. And if you think that you wanted some extra information, my subscribers are usually pretty smart, so if you check the comment section, there might be some stuff in there for you to learn as well. If you like this video, please like and subscribe. Please help out your local homeless shelters, and remember to recycle. I'll check you later.